Unit 8, Part 13. All right, last one. Let's do 7a from page 173. Exercises for Unit 8. 7a. We have 5 premises. We're looking for not C. Before we start looking for where this conclusion, plus or minus negation, occurs amongst the premises, before we do that, there is a habit you should execute right now. There is a form of one of these premises that I did mention should induce in you a habit, top-down habit, where you bust out a bunch of formulas, derive a bunch of formulas, which always come out a certain way when a premise is a certain form. Can you see what it is? Pause, unpause. It's on number 4, right? It's not the happy face, it's not the negated disjunction, and it's not De Morgan we do straight away, but I talked about this in an earlier problem many parts ago when I was working backwards, and I said if this was top down, this is what you do. Okay, so here what you do, you've got a negated conditional. Okay, look at what happens when I perform my habit on this negated conditional, make these moves, and it's always what happens here, the way this unfolds and all the formulas we can derive from it, is going to be true of any negated conditional, right? Every negated conditional, the following is true. Do this, okay. I'm going to perform conditional exchange on 4, right? How do I do that, right? This formula as a whole is not in the left nor right-hand side of conditional exchange, right? Check to see, look at the form of conditional exchange. It's not, but this is, the sub-formula is D hook H. That's one side of conditional exchange, that's the left-hand side. The right-hand side, so I've left it like this, I'm leaving that part in place. Since I'm only, and this is always true, this is an important point, whenever you apply a replacement rule to a sub-formula, the overall form must stay the same, right? If you're only applying it to a sub-formula, that means a part of the overall formula, and the overall formula remains untouched. So as here, this is a negation, so here, the result of applying the replacement rule to a sub-formula, this is a negation. Right? It's just going to be negating something else. I'm changing D hook H to not D or H. Right? Conditional exchange, very crucial rule, must be very familiar with it. Conditional changes to a disjunction with the left disjunct negated. Okay, and now look what happens. And always when you do this move, that is when you've got a negated conditional, you transform it by conditional exchange and now happy face. Now you have a negated disjunction, so boom, that habit comes into play. Not D and not H. 6 De Morgan. Not D, not H. 7 simp, twice. 7 simp. Okay, right, look what we've got. If we want D by itself, we can get that by double negation. We have all these formulas. Okay, so now let's start working backwards, figure out how we're going to get this. Okay. Well, actually, I see it right away. I've got a not H. Immediately connects with this, right? With 5. That's a modus tollens waiting to happen. I'll do that right away. I've got not E by 5 and 9. 5 and 9 modus tollens. Okay, let's do the bottom up now. Not C, where's it going to come from? Where does C plus or minus negation, or not, right, occur amongst the premises? Not C occurs as, it should be this formula, possibly plus or minus a negation. So where does not C, possibly plus or minus a negation occur amongst the premises? In premise 1, not C itself occurs as the consequent of a conditional, so I will want to use modus ponens to get this. Right? My last line in the justification is probably going to be modus ponens. To do modus ponens, I need what? The disjunction of not A and not B. I need that disjunction. Not A or not B. Okay, so that's what I need, right? I need not A or not B. How am I going to get that? This has the form of a disjunction, meaning I can get this by addition if I get either disjunct by itself, right? If I can get not A, I'm basically home free. I can just add not B, and I'm good, right? Similarly, if I get not B, I can add not A. Okay, if I look around at the other premises, B doesn't appear anywhere else, which makes me think I am going to have to pull B out of thin air, which the rule of addition allows you to do. Right? So it looks like I'm going to need to get not A. Why not A? Because I can see a path to not A. Can't see any path to not B by itself. If I can get that, I can just arrow add, right? Why do I think that about not A? Because A appears here in premise 2. A appears as the antecedent of a conditional, so not A is attainable by modus tollens from premise 2. Not A is attainable by modus tollens from premise 2 if I can satisfy the second condition of the rule. Modus ponens is a rule with two premises. That means two conditions. You must satisfy two conditions to be able to apply the rule. The second premise, it's not F, right? I need not F. I need not F to do modus tollens on 2. Not F, I'll get a modus tollens, right? That's the rule I'm going to use to get not A. I figured out then, that's the formula I need. Not F is the formula I need to do the modus tollens. Okay, so where am I going to get not F from? Where does not F, possibly plus or minus a negation, appear in the premises? Step 3, okay? It appears as one side of a biconditional, and it's perfectly fine if you did this right away, if you saw, okay, if you said to yourself, this whole chunk doesn't appear anywhere else, which means I'm definitely going to break it apart with the biconditional exchange. You could have done that right at the beginning, nothing wrong with that. Now we see we sort of need it, so not F, hook, brackets, D, and not E. And D and not E, hook, not F, bracket, right? Okay? By conditional exchange of 3, okay? Result of biconditional exchange is a conjunction, so I simplify, as I always do when I see conjunctions. Simp 11 and D, hook not E, hook not F, simp 11. All right, where am I? What did I figure out? I figure I want not F, right? Not F is my path home. Okay, so since I want not F, I'm looking at 13 rather than 12, right? I want not F itself, so I want to get this, so I can do modus ponens on that. Again, this one interests me less. I don't think I'm going to make use of that to get what I need, because the only thing I could get out of 12 is not F, right? I could only get not F out of 12. Okay. Why? Because the antecedent and the conclusion of modus tollens has a negation in it. The conclusion of modus ponens doesn't have a negation. The conclusion of modus ponens is the consequent itself, whereas the conclusion of modus ponens is the negation of the antecedent. Okay. All right. So I need D and not E. I need to get. That means I need to get a conjunction, right? What is the form of the thing I need? Right. Going back here. Still going. Now I figured out I need D and not E. What's the form of that? It's a conjunction. So I just need these two formulas separately and to conjoin them. Do I have them? Okay. Yes. I've got not E over here, right? That's that part. I got not E by modus tollens on this guy with that. And I've got not D, so I do need to double negate that. So 14 D and double negation on 13, right? Boom. 15 D and not E. That's 14 and 10, 10, 14, conj. Sorry, that's D and not E by conjunction. Now I'm running through this. That was for the sake of not F, right? 13, 15 modus ponens, 13, 15 modus ponens. These are the premises of the rule, that's the conclusion of the rule. Why did I want not F? So I could modus tollens to not A, right? So 2, right? I'm looking back at my working backwards part. Not F on 2 and 16, so 16 is not F. Modus tollens gets me not A, and then I'm going to add. Now I'm going to add not A or not B. Why? I'm doing that to get the antecedent of the conditional that is 1, right? So 17 addition, and that is not A or not B, is the antecedent, so 1 and 18 by modus ponens. Gives me step 19, actually put a number there, not C. All right, that'll do for Unit 8.